Right, and then we get to the South African match versus Scotland for the past weekend, and we're just going to have a look at that. As I previously said, South Africa, the Springboks, won that match 42-28, but it was really a good match. It was a good advertisement for rugby, I would say. And I went back and looked at some of the stats, and I was actually quite surprised at quite a few of the stats, because it wasn't like South Africa overpowered Scotland in any facet. In fact, if we look at the stats, it's quite interesting to see that in terms of possession, percentage-wise, Scotland at the better part of the stick, for want of a better word, at 59% to 41%. Their territory, they dominated 61% to 39%. Their passes were 218 versus only the 79 of the Springboks. Offloads, they also won at 16 to 3. And then interesting, and I think this might be one of the important stats that swung the match in South Africa's favour, was tackles made. Was 186 for the Springboks and 123 to the Scots, which says something about the intensity of the defence of the Springboks. And I think if there's a lesson that the Scots can take out of this, it would be in terms of tackles. And then probably the most interesting stat was tackles missed by the Springboks were 47. And tackles missed by the Scots were only 19. But again, I think from a Springbok point of view, you need to look at the positive and know that there were at least more attempts, way more attempts at tackles than the Scots made. So that's a very interesting stat for me. The Rucks won also was only 70 by the Springboks, and 121 rucks won by the Scots. So all in all, if you only look at it from a statistical point of view, the Scots had the better game, and they should have statistically won the match, but they didn't. And I think that speaks to the intense nature of Springbok rugby at the moment. And before I get to this, the Springboks and what I want to say about their game and players, there were some Scottish players that were just absolutely amazing. If I start at the back, I mean, Kyle Steyn and Carl Rowe actually were outstanding. Then Sione Tuipulotu, and then, of course, Sione Tuipulotu, I'll get that right someday, is probably the best centre in world rugby at the moment. Finn Russell had a good match. I still don't think he's a match winner at that level, unfortunately. And then their forwards just didn't stand back whatsoever. And I want to highlight their front row, and Pierre Schoeman, Ewan Ashman, and Zander Fagerson, who were just absolutely brilliant, especially in scrum time, and the way that they also got involved in loose play was really brilliant and to be commended. So regarding the Springboks and individual play and their play as a team, there's a couple of things that I want to say, and the first thing is that they're not perfect. They're not playing perfect rugby. And I don't believe that should be the goal of any team ever, to try and play perfect rugby. But I do believe that they're playing hard, intense rugby. I believe on the field the players trust each other, and I think there's a great sense of trusting each other between the players and the coach's box, which says a lot. And I believe that the players have actually got the they've got the freedom to try and experiment and do things on the field, and they're not living under kind of fear of making mistakes. I believe they try things, and if it doesn't work, they simply try and fix it as quickly as possible. But probably the most important aspect of the Springboks on the field is their intensity and their seriousness about rugby and about winning rugby. And that's something that I just absolutely love. And it's something that you don't always see, even at international level. You don't always see that seriousness and willingness and desperation to win. And so that's something that I see with them. I think we've got work to do at the lineouts. We lost our first line out, and that's never any good if you lose your first line out in a match. Our defense on the advantage line isn't good either. It's very often the teams on their first attack at the advantage line actually takes us back. So I think there's quite a bit of work to be done there. Our scrums are really good, even though Scotland's scrum was also good, and they didn't stand back. I believe that we are still the world leaders come scrum time. I would just love to see World Rugby take action against the skew throwings at the scrum. If there's one thing that I could change, it would be that. It's just not a fair contest anymore. And then something else that's just outstanding at the moment is the Springboks scramble defense. The way that they get back to stop attacking players a meter, 2 or 3 meters away from their own try line is just something special to watch. There were probably 3 times that the Scots broke through in the second half, and it was almost a sure try. And in some way or another, the Springbok defenders just simply got back and stopped a try from being scored. And that says a lot. Going back to the intensity and the willingness and the desire to win for the Springboks. One other aspect that I'm a little bit concerned about and that I'm not fond of is actually there's 2 things. The one is box kicks. I don't think box kicks are necessarily the way to go to play winning rugby. However, the Springboks are probably the best team in the world at that at the moment, maybe along with the French. Although the Springboks definitely do it more. They utilize the box kick a lot more than any other team. And the reason that it's successful for the Springboks is the follow-up. Firstly, the distance that the kick goes is mostly in a good range. It's not too close, not too far. But the follow-up and the pressure on the kicks, especially with our current wings, is fantastic. But something else that bothers me a little bit is our wingers' tactical kicks. It's very often not good. And I think that's actually something that can be worked on and can be taught and trained to make better decisions. Very often our wingers' tactical kicks, if they're under pressure, go out. And that's no good. I think you need to look at options on the inside, whether it is with a kick. We've got so much pace on the wingers that if they do kick the ball more infield, chances are that they're going to put the defense under immense pressure if they don't get the ball first to score the try. That's just a couple of things from my side. Apart from that, I'm really proud to be a South African and a Springbok supporter at this stage, especially. Things are looking good. It doesn't mean that I think that we're going to win everything this year. We'll probably lose 2 or 3 matches, and one of them might even be against the All Blacks. And maybe even towards the end of the year, we might lose a match, maybe against a good Irish or a good French side. But overall, I think the Springboks is a team to be proud of, and it's a team that every South African and every South African rugby player can look up to and aspire to be a part of. So from my side, in terms of our match against the Scots, that's that. I think you can get into a lot more technical issues, but I don't think it's necessary. We're looking forward to a match, the match against Wales, where Rassie has chosen I think the last remaining players in his squad that haven't got some good game time, and we'll quickly look at that next.